Hey Wargamers, today we're going to continue our discussion of the greater good by looking at the new prototype weapons for Tau Empire. Before we get too far into it though, I want to point out something that I think has slipped under the radar for a lot of people. It's evident in a few places in the greater good, both in terms of the listing for the 8, but also in the prototype weapons, so that's why we're going to talk about it here. And that is that if you look at overcharging, it is actually very different than it has been in the past. So I'll read what it says. It says, for each hit roll of 1 made for attacks made with this weapon, the bearer suffers 1 mortal wound after shooting with this weapon. So there's 2 things that are different there. One is that it's not 1 or more hits of 1. It is for each hit of 1. So that means that if you have a cyclic ion blaster and you roll 3 1s and you don't re-roll them, you're taking 3 mortal wounds, not just 1. That's good and bad, right? That's good from a streamlining perspective. You don't have to deal with rolling your weapons separately to keep track of which weapon rolled which one. But it also means that you can take 3 times as many mortal wounds, which is dangerous. Additionally, it has the wording that it's the bearer that suffers the mortal wound and not the bearer's unit. This is old text, right? Like they have addressed this in FAQs, and so I wouldn't be surprised if this is addressed in the Greater Good FAQ when that comes out in a couple weeks. But this is something that affects not only cyclic ion blasters, but also ion accelerators. Anything that is listed in this book as overcharging has this wording on it. So that's important and really something to keep an eye on going forward. I think there's some, key things in this book that help mitigate that change if it's intentional. In particular, the changes to Farsight enclaves really make this a lot more tolerable, as well as the additional stratagems that we have access to that allow us to have greater access to marker light hits. Both of those things allow for more rerolls, and that makes this change, this frank nerf, less harmful than it would be otherwise. So it's something to keep an eye on, not necessarily something that is a deal breaker right now. Cyclic ion blasters are still very good. You just got to make sure you're not letting those ones sit because they will pile up really quickly this way. Okay, so moving on to prototype weapons. These are essentially alternative signature systems. Signature systems have to go on a character. You can forego giving a character a signature system and instead give any unit in your army one of these prototype weapons. Now, it's worded as a 1 relic for 1 prototype weapon exchange, which implies that this could be used with emergency requisition to take multiple prototype weapons, but that's not explicitly stated. So, at some point, hopefully that will be clarified. I'm guessing that you can do that though. So I'm not going to be surprised if that is the case, but I also won't be totally surprised if they say, no, you're limited to 1 prototype weapon because they're prototypes. So either way. Like stratagems, there's going to be a lot of really appealing options here. It just comes down to which ones you really want to prioritize and which ones are the best for your army composition. Reactive countermeasures. Battlesuit model with airburst fragmentation projector only. Ranged weapons with an armor penetration characteristic of -1 or -2 are treated as having an armor penetration characteristic of 0 when resolving attacks against a model with this weapon system. So conceptually, this is really interesting. It's like you have a AFP and you're using it to distract the enemy or put up chaff or something like that that's going to inhibit the opponent's ability to actually hurt you, which is cool. But on the surface, it's really not that useful because it's only 1 model and you have to give them an AFP, which is generally not a very good weapon. So my initial response to this was really ho-hum, but it actually has a really nasty use when you think about it a little bit more. And that is that you can give this to your iridium armor guy in your crisis suit bomb, and all of a sudden his iridium armor is way better than it was before. So it's going to be ignoring -1, -2 on that guy, and he's going to be tanking all the shots that you would normally take. And a lot of those -1, -2 things are not necessarily high damage things that you want to shove off to drones. And so this improves your capacity to handle those shots, and it makes your unit as a whole that much more durable. If you're getting into a unit with, 6 or 9 crisis suits and you have multiple iridium armors in it, of course they can't all take this, but this adds another layer of durability to that unit. And if we're looking at bringing larger, bulkier units of crisis suits because of all the stratagems around crisis suits in this book, having this reactive countermeasures on one of your Iridium guys makes a lot of sense to me. It makes that unit that much more durable, and durability has really been one of the challenges for crisis suits. Of course, you can bring drones, but having a more durable actual crisis body is very desirable. So I think this is actually one of the better prototype weapons in this list because it improves your Iridium armor so much. Yeah, he's still going to eat a las cannon, but that's why you have shield drones. So this really gives you more options, and I'm excited to see this on the tabletop. Fusion Obliterator, XV95, Ghost Kill Battlesuit model only. This weapon system replaces a Fusion Collider and has the following profile. Range 24, Heavy 3, Strength 9, -4 AP, D6 damage. When resolving an attack made with this weapon against a unit within half range, roll 1 additional D6 when inflicting damage with it and discard one of the dice. So it's a Fusion Collider with an additional strength and 6 inches more range. So it's certainly better than a Fusion Collider. This doesn't just collide, it obliterates. So you got to keep up, guys. But so it's good, and it solves one of the issues I've always had with ghost kills in that they simultaneously want to be close but also want to be far away from their enemy because, at close range, they're going to be able to use their weapons, but they're also giving up their stealthiness at close range, and that's a problem. So this helps with that by giving them the extra 6-inch range. You can stack this on top of Borkan, or for example, and that would give you a little bit more room even on top of that. So that's good. If you're bringing a Borkan ghost kill, that might be something you want to consider. But overall, not really that awesome. It's just a couple shots that you're getting off of this, and not something that really brings something new to the table. Overall, yes, the additional strength is important because of toughness 8 things, toughness 4 things, toughness 3 things, toughness. Yeah, it's useful, but it's not game changing in any way like some of these other prototype weapons are. Of course, you can use modulated weaponry on this to get 3 shots, and that's another good synergy that you have there. But yeah, overall, I think this is kind of mediocre. Advanced EM Scrambler, Ghost Kill Battlesuit model only. Enemy units that are set up on the battlefield as reinforcements cannot be set up within 12 inches of this model. So this is one of the prototype weapons that was previewed on Warhammer Community. It can make it harder to get deep strike down, which is good. We talked about the strengths of that in a previous video. Ideally, you would want your ghost kill with this to be away from the rest of your forces. Otherwise, you're really not gaining much. So for example, think about having a ghost kill and then a unit of anything in front of it. There's probably going to be 3 inches between the front of your ghost kill and the front of whatever unit is next to it. And so you're not actually gaining any extra deep strike negation from that because that additional unit already pushes that envelope out to 9 inches away from them. So really, in order to use this, you would want to have your ghost kill either way up front or way off on the side or way in back to protect against deep strikers in a wholly separate part of the board. And that is useful, clearly. That can give you some really great backfield protection, but it runs into that same issue we were just talking about with the Fusion Obliterator, in that you simultaneously want to be close and far away from the opponent. If you're close, then, like if you're in front, you're going to be, negating a larger area of the board, but you're also risking losing that ghost kill that much more quickly because his stealth doesn't work at close range. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword because of that. High-capacitance railgun, hammerhead gunship model equipped with a railgun only. This weapon system replaces a railgun, and it has the following profile. You can pick either the solid shot, which has range 60, heavy 2, strength 10, -4, AP, and D6 damage, or the submunitions, which are range 60, heavy 4d3, strength 6, -1 AP, 1 damage. When resolving an attack made with the solid shot profile, a wound of 6 inflicts d3 mortal wounds on the target in addition to any other damage. So it's basically, not exactly, it's basically 2 railguns strapped together. The submunitions work slightly different, but it works out to be about the same. Unfortunately, you can't give prototype weapons to named characters, so Longstrike can't take this, for example, which is too bad because I would like Longstrike to have this weapon. But otherwise, yeah, it's just, not... It's good. It's certainly good, right? Two guns is better than one, for sure. But it doesn't bring anything new to the table. I don't see this being particularly novel or worthy of giving up something else to take this. Gatling Burst Cannon. Commander, Crisis Suits, Crisis Bodyguards, or Ghost Kill Battlesuit units only. This weapon system replaces each burst cannon that models in this unit are equipped with and has the following profile. Gatling Burst Cannon, range 18, assault 4, strength 5, 0 AP, 1 damage, but when resolving an attack made with this weapon, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. Now, I know what you might be thinking is, oh, gee willikers, I can pair that with Upgun now, can't I? No, you can't, because it's a Gatling Burst Cannon, not a Burst Cannon. So we're going to rain on that parade right now, unfortunately. I think if you could use Upgunned, the custom set tenet with this, that would actually not be bad, but you can't, so we're not going to talk about it anymore. So you could potentially get more shots with this, right? Being able to get that additional hit on a 6. I don't see the value in this for Crisis Suits or Ghost Kills. Heavens no, not Ghost Kills. You have 2 burst cannons on that thing at most. Why would you spend a prototype weapon on buffing 2 burst cannons that maybe are going to give you 1 more strength 5 shot? No. Crisis Suits, yeah, you could take a whole unit of Crisis Suits, give them these instead of just normal burst cannons. But if I'm doing that, I think I'd rather just take Hazard Suits or just more Fire Warriors. I don't see the appeal of this weapon. Now, one unit that I would love for this to work on would be Stealth Suits. If you could give Stealth Suits Gatling Burst Cannons, that would be sweet. I would be all for that, but you can't, which I think is actually kind of surprising. Like the one standard Codex unit that I think of most when I think of burst cannons is Stealth Suits, and they're not on this list. Ghost Kills are on this list. What business do Ghost Kills have on this list? I'm getting upset. Like Stealth Suits should definitely be in this, and if Stealth Suits could take this, I would give them this. That would be awesome. But no, I'm not going to give. This is a bad upgrade for any of the suits that are eligible to take it. Don't fall for this trap. Network Marker Lights. Pathfinder team unit only. This weapon system replaces each marker light that models in this unit are equipped with and has the following profile. It's a marker light, but it's assault instead of heavy. That's good. I like networked marker lights. Network marker lights were a thing in the past. Different rules, but still very cool to see them back. Assault marker lights is great, particularly if you're playing Vior Law. You can use this effectively and have your guys run around the board and give out marker lights. It's actually very useful because there are so many times that your marker lights are standing there and you don't have a great way to move them around, except for, hitting marker lights on something. But chicken or the egg type thing, I guess. This solves that problem. Unfortunately, it's on Pathfinders, and Pathfinders are paper thin, which makes it seem like this type of upgrade is advantageous in the short run, but will ultimately lead to your Pathfinders running out in the open and getting shot because they don't have any armor. And yeah, so probably won't last long on the table, but still, I think it's good. It's something worth considering if you're playing a really mobile list. You might want to do this. Annihilation Warhead, Storm Surge model only. When resolving an attack made with a destroyer missile by this model, if it scores a hit, do not roll to determine the number of mortal wounds suffered by the target unit. That unit suffers 3 mortal wounds instead. Great, so it's 3 mortal wounds. That's good. It's a nice cap. That kind of seems like it should be more of a stratagem than a piece of prototype weaponry, but cool. Why would I spend a signature system or a prototype weapon on a one-use only weapon, though? I only have a couple of these things. Why would I, spend my one prototype weapon to make those couple missiles that, just a little bit better. Like on average, one mortal wound better. I don't see it. That seems like another, thing that they just put in here because they wanted to fill up a page, not because it's actually going to do something particularly useful. If they were going to do this, it should have been an upgrade for Skyrays. It should have been an upgrade for Skyrays to have destroyer missiles, or to refill their missiles once a game or something like that. Give Skyrays something here. I don't like this one either, unfortunately. Not trying to be negative, guys. I don't see. There are definitely some winners in here, but there are some turds in here too, and I think this is one of them. Accelerated photon grenades. Unit with photon grenades only. This weapon system replaces each photon grenade that models in the unit are equipped with and has the following profile. Accelerated photon grenade. Range 12 inches. Grenade D6. This weapon can only target infantry units. When resolving an attack made with this weapon, if a hit is scored, do not make a wound roll. Instead, the target is shocked until the start of your next turn. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a model from a shocked unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. In addition, shocked units cannot advance, and any charge rolls made for shocked units are halved. Now this one is a bit of a gamble, but when it pays off, it's going to pay off so well. So I'm actually very excited about this one. There's a few reasons for that. One is it says start of your next turn. The effect lasts until the start of your next turn, not just that turn, which is how photon grenades work. That's why photon grenades are purely defensive, is because they only apply for the turn in which you throw them. These last until your next turn, which is massive. It's a massive change. It's very useful. It means that these are offensive as well as defensive. So for one, they can advance, which is good, right? Slow them down. Great. Use these guys in your turn to slow your enemy down so that they have a harder time charging you. That way they can't advance. And, if they can advance and charge, then you mitigate that. Or, if they're just trying to get into position, you slow them down in some way. Very good. Very useful. Then halving the charge range is even better. So use this in your turn when you're being charged to make them potentially fail the charge. And it synergizes with other photon grenades, because this is not a photon grenade, it's an accelerated photon grenade. So you can stack. So you can get them to not only have -1 to hit from accelerated photon grenades, you can have them -1 to hit from standard photon grenades. And then they can also halve their charge range by being shocked as well. Put on top of that something like a hazard suit. If they're hanging out with, let's say, a bunch of fire warriors, you have a hazard suit there. Now they are -2 to charge as well. So if you have a block of infantry like fire warriors, for example, with photon grenades, you take a big unit of them, give one of them accelerated photon grenades, give the rest of them, well, they come natively with standard photon grenades. You can do a lot of damage, and, well, not really damage, but you can severely impair their ability to hurt you, which is awesome. It makes other stratagems, like the one that allows you to fire your pulse blasters in close combat, very useful. It also means that you're going to be able to fall back and survive to shoot another day. So accelerated photon grenades are awesome, and I really want to play with them and see if I can actually get them to work. The reason why I say it's risky is because you are giving up, you're taking a weapon that is a D6 and you can only throw one grenade in Overwatch. So yeah, there's a risk there. But if you land it, if you stick the landing, it's going to be so sweet, and you're going to drink some salty Adeptus tears. So I am excited about these. I want to see these on the tabletop. I want to see someone pull this off and just make an opponent weep that they cannot make their charge. Cross-link stabilizer jets. Commander, crisis suits, or crisis bodyguard unit only. When resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon by a model in this unit, reroll hit rolls of 1 and reroll wound rolls of 1. So we have lots of ways to reroll hit rolls of 1, especially with the greater good. Don't have that many ways to reroll wound rolls of 1, for crisis suits at least. We do for riptides and for vehicles, which we talked about in the custom sept abilities. Those are things that you can do. But neither of those benefit crisis suits like this one does. And, we talked about how taking the AFP, the reactive countermeasures prototype weapon, could be good for a crisis suit bomb. Rerolling your ones on a crisis suit bomb would also be very good, especially if you're bringing a bunch of fusion blasters or, cyclic ion blasters. I don't know, weapons that nobody uses. Having those ones would be awesome. So a very tempting choice there. I think we'll see some play if you are playing a crisis-centered list. Magna Rail Rifle. Broadside battlesuits only. This weapon system replaces each heavy rail rifle models in this unit are equipped with and has the following profile. Range 60, heavy 2, strength 9, minus 4 AP, D6. When resolving an attack made with this weapon, a wound roll of 6+, inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target in addition to any other damage. When resolving an attack made with this weapon, a damage roll of 1 or 2 counts as a 3 instead. So, added strength is nice, very, very good, very useful. We've talked about how strength 9 is better than strength 8 before. But the real nice part about this is that you're counting 1s or 2s as 3s on your damage roll. So you have a floor of 3 damage. So you will always do 3 to 6 damage with one of these. And that is useful. I think this in a specialized detachment of broadsides is going to be very useful. It will see play just because it has the range, it has the strength, it has the AP, and now it has a reliable damage characteristic. And you can get, 3 of these things in a unit. So that's really nice. It's kind of the same deal for amplified ion accelerator. This was also previewed. It's a Riptide model only. This weapon system replaces the ion accelerator and has the following profile. Standard 72 inches, heavy 6, strength 8, minus 4 AP, 3 damage. Overcharge, range 72, heavy 6, strength 9, AP minus 4, 3 plus D3 damage. For each hit roll of a 1 made for attacks with this weapon's overcharge profile, the bearer suffers 1 mortal wound after shooting with this weapon. So that's where that change to overcharging comes in, is it actually makes a fairly big difference for this unit. It's not that he's just going to take 1 mortal wound. He could take up to 3 more, or up to 6 mortal wounds, which would hurt, clearly. You could combine this with Gifted Pilot for a really attractive unit, though. It has the same strengths as the Magna Rail Rifle. You're just, do you want to have more punch on a broadside unit or more punch on a Riptide unit? Make your choice and pick the respective prototype weapon. So they're both good. They both have clear applications. I think you'll see both of them on the table. It's just a matter of what your composition is anyway. And if you are thinking about bringing broadsides, obviously you'll lean towards the rail rifle. If you're thinking about bringing riptides, you'll lean towards the ion accelerator. But I don't think you're going to change your army composition severely just to bring either of these, because both of them are common choices anyway. High-powered incinerators, battlesuit unit only, so it can go for anyone, not just crisis suits. This weapon system replaces each flamer that models in this unit are equipped with and has the following profile. Range 8, Assault D6, Strength 4, 0 AP, 1 damage. You don't have to roll to hit with it. When resolving an attack made with this weapon against a unit that is within half range, add 1 to the strength characteristic of this weapon for that attack. So if you're within 4 inches, you get a Strength 5 flamer. That's something. But it's still just a flamer. It has no AP. It's 1 damage. You got to get really close to use it, so it synergizes well with Farsight Enclaves. I think there's just better options for Strength 5 shooting, though. Yeah, you don't have to hit, but of the things that have -1 to hit and -2 to hit, like, are there really so many of those things that you want to be shooting with Strength 5 weaponry that it's worth having a crisis suit unit basically get into close combat to deploy this? I don't think so. I think I'd rather spend more effort on getting more markerlights, using my stratagems, and just hitting them with better weapons than this to actually shoot them, instead of try to take this little lighter and burn their footsies off. So yeah, I'm not impressed with this one. It's kind of a dud for me to end up with. I think it's conceptually really exciting. Like, everybody loves flamers. I mean, lots of people like flamers, at least. And it'd be cool if we could have flamer suits be a really viable thing. I don't think this does that. So yeah. Overall, I think the main things that we're going to see are the ion accelerator, the rail rifle, the stabilizer jets, the photon grenades, and then the reactive countermeasures. Those are kind of the winners here for me. I think those are things that really excite me, and I can see clear applications and clear gains, clear novelty in their application, as opposed to some of these other things where you just don't gain that much. These are things that I'm thinking are worth giving up a signature system for because they are sufficiently powerful. Other things, no. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Are there some of these prototype weapons you think I've misjudged? Are there ones that you've used and you've actually been able to see their effects? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching and happy wargaming.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider joining our community over on Patreon. These are the people that really help drive the channel and make things happen. So special thanks to Shifty, Dallas Ellis, Jim Bob, Scott Heater, Nick Steele, Tao Oswald, Jackson, Stephen Cohen, Eric Jackson, Michael Byrne, Zealous Brimstone, Jared Egler, and Chris Kessler.